Hi, and welcome to Camp Kuriakis. My name is Elanor, and I'm here to lead you on a very special session of Fun Craft Friday. A couple weeks ago, we did a nice little cloud scene. And now this week, I would like to build on this cloud scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead a little, this is a 4-part session in which you guys can all follow along with me and we can make a lovely little landscape scenery. So since we have done the clouds, I have reproduced these clouds onto a rectangular sheet. This is canvas board. You can use whatever you have at home. Paper works fine. I am using acrylic paint. You can use whatever paint you would like, but different paint does have different effects. As I said, all I have done is I have repainted some simple clouds, and I'm going to add to this scene. So what I would like in this scene is some mountains. But first off, I've got this bit of canvas here that's quite plain, so we're going to fill this in real quick. So I've got my acrylic paint, and I am going to grab just a flat brush. I think blue is a pretty good base background color, so I'm going to load some blue into my palette here, add some water because I'm just making a little base on this canvas here. Again, this is just a base coat to have some underlying paint on your canvas, so it does not need to be thick, it does not need to be clean, it can be this messy little job that no one's going to see. Alright, so all I've done is I've applied a really fast, quick layer of paint at the bottom. Alright, I'm just going to wash my brush because that's very important. And the trick with mountains is we're going to give them a bit of a outline to start. So I am going to take a clump of white into my palette here. And now I'm going to take another brush, so I can pull in some black, but not very much, because that will turn it dark very quickly. So a little bit goes a long way. Darker colors, you don't need as much to get the color darker, but lighter colors will need a lot more. So if you want to have light gray, it'll be a lot of white and a little bit of black. But if you want a dark gray, it'll be about equal amounts of black and white, because the black will be a lot more, it will show up a lot more. I'm going to use my little brush to mix this. So I always like to be gradual with it, so I only take a little bit of the black at a time and slowly mix it in with the white until I think that it is a consistency of gray that I would like. And I'm going to take a little bit of this blue. I'm going to put that in there too. I'm going to take my brush and only load the tip bit of paint. Just the tip of the paintbrush. It's a bit of a leap of faith here, a bit of a bold move. Where do I want the tip of my mountain? I want it right about here. And I kind of just go whoosh. And I got a nice little swooshy move there. I'm going to kind of just gently move my brush in a downwards motion. Just like that. So I'm giving my mountain a bit of an outline. And then on this side, again, mountains are never particularly even. Maybe there's a second peak there. And it's going to just drop off the side. So that's one mountain peak. And we can fill that in more. If this is our closest mountain, we need our next one to be a little bit further away. So maybe it'll go here. So all I'm doing is, instead of making it completely even, this one's just dropping about there. And again, and I'm filling it in. And again, all I'm doing is putting down a base. Now there's probably an even closer mountain here, but it's kind of off to the side, so we can't quite see it. There. Just like that. I might build this one up a little. And now this one will have to be built up a little too. Now I'm going to put another one in here. Whoosh. Ooh, that one's a clean one. Let's leave it just like that. And now, and as they get further away, they become smaller. And they'll maybe just trail off in the distance here. So there's a very simple mountain range. And this is just the base coat. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this, put some more gray down here. Now here is our little mountain range. So we're just going to let this dry for a little bit. And we're back. So we have allowed this to dry a little bit, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some lighter gray, and I'm going to start going over the top of my mountains. So all I'm doing is I'm adding some lighter stuff on top, and if it sort of starts to fade as it goes down, that's perfectly fine. Alright, now we're just going to continue putting some of this lighter paint on the mountains, and as you'll notice, what I'm doing is I'm only putting paint on this side of the mountain. So this side is more in the shadow, which means my sun is coming from this side. The light is hitting my landscape from this side. So the clouds are lighter on the right-hand side, and the mountains are lighter on the right-hand side. And that will continue all the way through the painting. Just loaded my brush up with some lighter gray, and I just kind of start at the corner, and all I do is I just kind of go down a little ways, and it kind of fades off as it goes down. Again, I'm gonna just go over top of this one, and this just gives some very simple depth. I'm just going to pull some of the paint down a bit into my painting a little more. So now I have some simple layering to my mountains, and I'm starting to get a bit of mist down here. So this will be the transition between my background to the foreground of my painting. So that's why it's just starting to mist up a little bit. So I'm just taking the lighter paint, and I'm just going across the front, and it's sort of a circular motion with the paintbrush, and all it's doing is it's making some undefined area, and it can always be filled in later. Now comes a fun part. So we've got some nice bright sides of our mountains here, but we should emphasize the shadows in the mountains. So I just added a little bit of blue in there. So our mountains have a bit of blue in the shadows. And then again, I'm wiping my brush on the side here, and all I'm doing is grabbing a tiny little bit on the edge. And now I'm taking this darker stuff, and I'm going to start it at the top, and just kind of start to just a little bit up there. This is a very big brush for this. If you have more brushes at home, by all means use them. So all we're doing right now is adding some darker stuff in on the other side of the mountain where there's some shadows. And it can kind of creep up on the lighter side too. It's not universally one side light and one side dark, see? Bring some dark down here too. And we're just going to continue to do that the whole way down. As we get to the end, these are going to be just in the background and not the main focus. Now, we've got some nice, clearly defined peaks here, but I like mountains with snow on them, so I'm going to put a little bit of snow. But first, I need to wash my brush. Now for this next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some white, I'm going to take a little bit of blue, not much, because I want mostly white on this, but maybe just a touch of blue. Now the trick with snow, so it's just going to, it shows up mostly on the top. So on this one, we'll have it mostly on the edge, and it'll kind of break. You want to imagine lots of little nooks and areas in the rocks where the snow has a place to live, right? And where it's just going to sit there. This will not be completely in the middle of a snowy season, so we won't have a huge amount of snow. Now for the next peak. Again, more snow in the top. And less snow as we come down. Now again, snow at the top. Maybe it'll have a little second peak at the front there. We should probably add a little bit of snow in the darker areas too. And to do that, blue, lots of blue. So we'll use some blue, some gray, and some white. And we'll just kind of bring some snow into the shadows of the peaks here. So the color that I'm mixing here, it's very blue, and I've mixed some black and white in there, so it's a very grayish blue. That's the color that I'm going for. And I don't need a lot of this, because all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a few little spots of it in the darker areas of my mountains. Because again, it's giving my mountains some definition, and all it does is it's assuming that there's a lot of shadows in the rocks immediately in the front there, so, and usually this is a little valley, so I'm trying to make almost a U shape as it intersects between this upward motion and this upward motion. So there we have it, some very simply made mountains. And if you would like to join me for the next painting session in a couple weeks, I will be moving from here down. We will add some mid-ground of forested area, some nice trees, and maybe some grasses. I'm going to add a lake in the bottom, and eventually we'll add some trees up here. If you would like to email the camp with the paintings that you have done with me, that would be amazing. I would love to see your work. But for now, just remember that here at Kuriakis, we're set apart but still together. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia.